Hi, it's Heidi, your pottery pal, and today I'm going to show you how to throw this vase and then we're going to decorate it. So let's get started. Okay, if you remember a while ago, I made a video about throwing a closed form, like a lidded piece, and I have a collector that likes these little orb vases. So I'm going to be doing a similar piece like that, except we're not going to close it all the way. We're going to stop so it's like a bud vase. So I'm going to show you how I do that really quick. And then when we're done with that, I will show you how I decorate it. So this is 1 3/4 pounds of Laguna stoneware. So we just open it up. If you watched my videos before, I throw with a sponge. I used to only throw with porcelain, and so I got in the habit of not using a lot of water, and the way I was able to accomplish that was by using a sponge. I'm compressing the bottom, and then we're going to start making some folds. Compress the rim, and then I'm going to lightly lubricate the interior and do another pull. And I'm trying to keep the shape, the final shape that I want. I mean, the hole at the top, I'm going to close it up more, but like I'm not flaring this and then trying to bring it back in. That would just be too much stress on the clay. Okay, I think there's maybe a little more at the bottom. This is definitely our last pull. Just a little. And now we're going to shape it. So we're going to collar it. Some people call it necking. It just reminds me of the way what my parents called making out. So I usually call it collaring. And as you do that, you want to make sure, because see how it's starting to get a little wiggle? You want to make sure and compress that. And so I'm just supporting it with my left hand and then compressing my right. It does look like I'm moving fast, but I have very gentle hands. So like when I put my hands on the clay, it's with a soft touch. When I remove them, it's with a soft touch. Okay, so that's about the size we want that opening. Now we have to do some more shaping. And I'm just trying to take some of that water off. With this shape, you don't want to use a lot of water because it will collapse. And then let's get a rib. Oh, oh no, wait, here's one. I have a metal rib. And we're just gonna start to scrape any of that exterior, I call it slime, it's not really slime, clay, off, and then we can shape it more. It's looking pretty good. Then what I like to do up here is have just a little rim. I'm just using the back edge of my rib to accomplish that. Then we'll do a final shaping. Okay, and then what I like to do, I'm not a huge fan of trimming, so I trim as much as I can in this position. So I'm going to take my wooden stick. This is a really nice wooden stick. This is from Beal Pottery. I don't know if you're familiar with them. I don't even know if they still make these. But I bought this from them. And it's a Osage orange tree, which I guess is a very hard wood. And so I love this throwing stick. I'm just going to take off any extra clay that I can. And then I said we were doing that final shaping before. We're going to do the final shaping right now. And then there's our little bud vase. So if you want to leave it on the bat, you can. I was taught never to never leave anything on the bat. So we're just I'm gonna show you how you can pick it up. You want clean hands, and you want to dry your hands. You're gonna take your wire tool. We're gonna cut it off. And then, let's see. Oop, I'll just throw that on the ground, it's okay. I'm gonna zoom out a little, hang on. We're gonna zoom in first, then we're gonna zoom out. I did one already. I'm just gonna put that board here. And all you do is, I just pick it up like this. There are those metal scooper things you can use, but I just use my hand, scoop, and put it on the board. You can do that without distorting it. So next up, we'll be decorating these. Okay, so our vase has set up. It's leather hard now. It's a cute little vase I trimmed minimally. I just used my Giffen grip. And the first thing I want to do is I want to put a thin layer of slip on this. So we're going to start with that so it has a chance to dry. And I have just found that this helps my transfers stick. Last fall I had a problem where my transfers were flaking off. Really weird. So this helps that. Okay, so I'm gonna set this down and we'll start prepping our paper. Okay, so what I do is I want to prep my paper. I like to prep all my paper first before I transfer it. So for these vases, what I do is I make some circle grid pieces, which are supposed to kind of resemble like a disco ball or a mirror ball. And I usually put 3 on per vase. So what I do is I just take this cup that I made a while ago and I use that to trace out my circles. They don't have to be perfect, just have to be done. Okay. And then I'm going to cut those out. And I know on these videos I talk about a lot of different things, but I really recommend these slice scissors. You're going to do a lot of cutting. They're ergonomic. They're really nice on your hands. They're right or left-handed. So they are a little more expensive than, scissors from Amazon. Well, I don't know. I think you can get these on Amazon. But I really like these scissors. And I only recommend things that I think are actually good. Just so you know. Okay, so let's cut these out. I mean, look how smooth this is. And the nice thing they did not pay me. They gave me these scissors. Well, yes, they did give me these scissors, but they did not give me money to talk about them. They had given me some other tools like 5 years ago, and I really liked those. They're ceramic blades, so I don't know if they dull or it takes longer, but I just love these scissors. So I'm doing 2 of these vases. So I did the 6. I'm only going to show you one. Okay, and next up I'm going to prep the colors. Okay, so I have my color swatches, and let's see. I have some reds, and this, told you that this is for a collector. They really like this salmon color, which is the speedball melon. I just make the little test tiles and put them on top so I know. So I'm going to be doing more of that color combo on this piece. We got some orange and yellows, some greens, some blues and purples. So what I do is I cut some big strips, and I just cut them in strips, and then I'm going to cut them in half. So each one will get, remember I'm doing 2, so I'm just going to separate them. And I'm going to do the same thing. And the reason I cut them in strips and cut them down is that it's just, they fit easier on the vase shape, which isn't straight up and down. So I can manipulate these pieces of paper more when they're small. So just cut them down. Each one gets a strip. How do I know that these strips are about the right size? It's just because I've been doing it a while now. I used to measure them completely out and had little templates, and it just took way too long. So now I just do it this way. And see, that's the other nice thing about these scissors. Like they don't seem to get dull cutting through underglaze. Sometimes like I'll paint the slip on the paper and then I'm like, oh, it's too big and I need to trim it down, and it cuts right through the slip, no problem. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to do this. I'm going to show you exactly how I do it. I'm just going to move this for now. Make sure I have all my tools before we get started. Okay. And then we are just going to set the vase aside because we need these. And I'm like, I think this is way too many colors. I'm just going to start with one. Did I do too many colors? I think I did too many colors. We're going to start with those. We're going to start with these. And then if these strips aren't enough, we can always add more. So I start with the first layer, gets the first coat of slip. This is just a decorating slip. And there's all kinds of recipes on Glazy. People ask me why I don't give my slip recipe away. I do if you take a class. Sometimes when you give your recipes away, people automatically assume then that it'll work for their clay, and that's just not necessarily the case. And teaching is not what I do full time. I am a full time potter, so I make pottery and sell it, and so I don't always have as much time to answer questions. So that's the long and short of it. I just can't answer a bazillion questions all the time. Now, that's not to say that you can't ask questions on the videos. I like answering most questions. So if you're looking for a slip recipe, this is not the same. I know it kind of gets confusing because people always ask me if I use my casting slip as a decorating slip, and I don't. This slip, people also refer to it as an on-go. I have tried this technique with like my old porcelain casting slip. It worked okay. Wasn't like the greatest. Wasn't the worst, but was definitely not the greatest. Okay, so this slip, I will tell you, is a little thinner than I usually like it. Like it a little thicker. But I was running low. So usually what I do is I make a big batch in a 5-gallon bucket, and then I pour it. I'm just flattening these so they dry a little better. I make a batch in a 5-gallon bucket, and then I pour it into a smaller container as needed. But if I know I'm going to decorate, what I usually do is leave, and it's fresh from the 5-gallon bucket, I leave the lid off the small container slip overnight so it thickens a little. I do put Darvan 811 in my slip so I don't mix it super thin to begin with, so it can be a little thicker and not flake off. Okay, so let's get started. I got my sponge. Let me just double check that you can see this, and you cannot. See, good thing I checked. Okay. All right. I have my towel, and we're just going to start putting these. We'll start with the circles. Okay, and I just kind of compress it lightly with the sponge. Pick it up. Do another one down here. And then we'll do another one over here. I'll spin this around. And you can see that it kind of wrinkled. That's okay. And then you just gently see. That's why I don't like it to slip when it's really runny, because when it'll just kind of squeeze out. Watch. See, well, that wasn't too bad. But see, it starts to squeeze out, and I don't like that. So when I do this, I just start by gently compressing first. And then I go back over it. This is still the first time. We start over. when you do multiple layers, you want to make sure your first layer is on well. And it's actually okay that it's really wet because sometimes that first layer dries out and you have to kind of rework these later. Okay, so let's put some of these strips on. So instead of taking that whole strip going over that disco ball, I'm going to take the scissors. I'm just going to cut. My scissors are black because I was cutting stuff with permanent marker on it. And then just go around it. And that's what I meant earlier, that you can just cut the paper with the underglaze on it. It's no problem. Works like a charm. Okay, so I'm going to take this next color and I'm going to just cut this down. I'm actually just going to rip it. You can rip them. You don't have to cut them. You can see it's starting to lose the moisture. I'll make sure. And oh, that was way too much water. That was way too much water. And then I'm gonna rip this in half. I'm gonna add these down here. Okay, then we have this green, and I'm just gonna put that whole strip right there. That's a good thing I took some of those colors out because look, I don't have that much left to do and I have a lot of color left. Okay, so I'm gonna set this aside. I'm gonna trim this down a little. I'm gonna put this up here around the top. I'm gonna add this color here. And then there's a couple spots that are bare. So I'm just going to take this last strip, rip it. And then I'm just going to apply that there. Okay, this is very wet because I accidentally put all that water on there. And now you just go back through and gently compress. Same thing like we did on those 3 first circle pieces. When I get done with this, I'm going to go for a bike ride. Looking forward to that. It is still 80 here in Michigan. That is hot. That is hot. For me, that's hot. Like, I am hot right now. It's October. Just in case you're watching this later and it's like June. 80 in June would be too hot for Michigan. You know, this is where you're all going to find out what a wimp I am, but man, and I've always been this way. Like, I got heat stroke once as a kid. It's horrible. I just overheat easy. Yes, I'm drinking water. It's really dry too. I'm just gonna talk this time. I'm being so Midwestern right now, talking about the weather. Okay. Oh, that ripped off. That's okay, because there's a layer under it. That's okay. All right, I'm just gonna. This is wet. Okay, let's test it. Actually, I'm gonna test this little piece up here. Oh, it's sticking. Okay. Sometimes when it's this wet, I'm like, I don't know. Okay, so let's start to peel it. Try to go backwards, it's easier. Backwards meaning the last color I applied. Okay, so see, it's not all the way down there, so all you gotta do is flip it back down. Take your rib and just compress a little more. Now remember, it's not sticking here because there is another color there. Oh, we got another color. I didn't realize there was another color there. Okay, so we're gonna peel this one off. Try to move my hand so you can see it. There's some more blue. And then here's green. Pretty. Oh, that was pretty. Okay, and then we'll go here. My nails right now are like the perfect length. Just meaning they can grab that paper. Usually I have to use a tool. This is looking good so far. And again, you can fuss with it as much as you want. I am going for that kind of messy look that makes it look aged. Okay, so now that we have this whole underneath circle piece, I'm just going to peel that now. Maybe. No, here we go. That way I don't have to worry about it drying out. Okay. And let's keep going. Okay, what's next? I'm going to do this. This one overlaps, so I'm going to do this one. And I'm going to do this one. Remember, it doesn't stick to the paper, so there's another circle right here. Gently peel that up. This paper, still the same batch I got from U-Haul. Works pretty good. Oh, look at it on the bottom. I can start at the bottom then. Okay. Let's see. This is gonna. It works pretty good, but the paper I used before this, they switched it. It worked amazing. There. That looks great. Okay. So let's wait a few minutes and then I'll show you how to go over it with the pony roller. Okay. So I had been going over my pieces with the pony roller immediately, And I found it was kind of actually pulling the transfer up. So now I wait a little bit, I don't know, 10 minutes, just so it has a chance to harden. And you can see how it's like peeling up here. So we're just going to take the pony roller and compress it. What happens if you don't use the pony roller? Well, you have a lot more flaking. You have a lot more cleanup when it's best because you got to get all those. Well, I guess it wouldn't matter to me. Okay, let's back up. If you didn't compress it on a vase, right? Like, let's say I was like, oh, I'm not going to compress this with the pony roller. I don't think it would matter as much, right? On a vase because it's not like coming into contact with food or your lip or something. Um, I mean, if it was super sharp, somebody went to pick up your vase and then slice their hand open, that wouldn't be good. And I think it's funny because, like, there's these wrinkles from the paper. Sometimes people think the pot's cracked, and it's not cracked. I'm not making fun of anyone. I'm laughing, but I'm not making fun. I totally see it because it's happened to me too. Sometimes these come out of the kiln, and I'm like, is it cracked? But it's just the paper where it wrinkled. Now, how would you eliminate that wrinkle? What you could do is make a template that wrapped all the way around this form that was the right shape, and then you could cut these little sections of color out to match up with your template, right? Kind of like a jigsaw puzzle. Which is what I used to do. It takes a lot of time. But I encourage you to try it and see which process you like better. Is more like loosey-goosey or more precise? Okay, that looks good. All right, if you have any questions, let me know. Pottery is better with a pal, so if you liked this video, like, subscribe, and share with a friend. See you next week. Bye.